we think we need these things, like our life is going to be so great if I just have X. Your life is already great. You just have to find the greatness in your life. This thing might make it a little bit better, but you probably already have something in your life that's doing the same thing or something similar.
All right, welcome everybody. Today I have Rebecca Saltzman, and we're going to be talking about how you can have less to have more. So for those of you all who are very linear thinkers, this might mess with your mind a little, which is always fun. I brought Rebecca on because I got to meet her on a virtual summit and really liked her perspective, what she's up to, and really think she can help you. Rebecca uses her professional design skills to help her clients create organized and beautiful spaces for themselves and their families. By helping her clients streamline everything from clothing to papers to books and household goods, they found they get the most out of their possessions and stress less about managing it all. Rebecca holds a degree in fashion from Parsons School of Design and for many years worked as a graphic designer. Her passion for the environment and helping people improve their lives drove her to change careers and create Balagan Be Gone. A native of Silver Spring, Maryland, Rebecca lives with her husband and 3 children in Israel. So first of all, welcome. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
And the most important question on everybody's mind, what is Balagan and why do we want it to be gone?
Okay, so balagan is the Hebrew word for chaos, and it's a really popular word in Israel and in Hebrew in general. It's actually not Hebrew in origin, but whatever, that's a whole nother story. And basically, we just want all the chaos and disorder to go out of our lives because who wants it? We don't need it. We don't like it. We don't want it. We want to live our best lives. So that's why I named my company Balagan Be Gone.
Awesome. So you shared with me a little bit about your journey and moving to Israel. You're originally from the US.
Right.
How has your journey required you to just get better at living more simply? And what's gone on as you've gone with your family, and what's it been like to adjust to a different type of living? You and I talked about a couple things of even getting access to certain things. What's it been like for you?
So we actually moved from New York City to Israel. That was like a stop in between, right? And we were 5 people living in 900 square feet. And one day I read this book called Zero Waste Home, and I was like, this lady is a nut. Like, how could she have like no waste, and how could she live this simply? And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try a few things. And I tried a few things, and I was like, this is amazing. And like, I couldn't believe how much better my life was when we had less stuff. Cleaning up was faster. I mean, I had 3 little kids before we moved. I have twins who are 21 months younger than my oldest. So it's a little busy in my house. And I mean, now they're teenagers already, but at the time they were like 2 or 3 years old. And I was like, there's toys everywhere. There's clothes everywhere. There's stuff everywhere. We live in this teeny tiny space. I can't do this anymore. I just couldn't do it. And I was always interested in making space work better. And I'm like, why can't I do this for myself? And then when I read this book, I was like, yeah, I could do this. And I can do this for other people. I'm really good at it. So I started doing it for myself, and I'm like, I am living this great life. And then I started doing it for other people, and I was like, this is amazing. I am truly doing something that helps people. And I love that. I love making a contribution to the world that's positive, even if it is one person at a time, because I feel like I have a really great impact on people's lives and it spreads. And that's amazing to me.
That's awesome. So I want to go into 2 things. First of all, the simplicity of what you just said of helping people one at a time. I think that's something that I know in my career I lost sight of, because at times we watch people, or at least I watch people that are getting all these followers on Instagram. Well, Instagram can sometimes be not real, but YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, places that we know, okay, this is real. The person
Right.
has legitimate followers. Maybe they're successful. Maybe they're getting a lot of interviews, whatever it might be. And it's not jealousy. Maybe there's some element of jealousy, but I don't feel, for me it's jealousy. It's more of the, gosh, why am I not doing better? Why am I not doing, am I messing up? what's off here? And at times when I am more centered, I'll think, well, okay, what have I really fully committed to? I've committed to fully to being a parent, and I've never like changed gears. So as an entrepreneur, I've changed gears a couple of times. So I'm going to do this project, that project.
Right.
Being a parent, being married, being the best husband I can. I've still certainly made my share of mistakes, but I've had a
We all make
consistent commitment to
mistakes.
those. And then I look at two of my business models that in both of those, I've been of them 20 years and one 30 years, and I'm really good at those. And I mean, I should be. But one of the things that at times has bothered me was this one at a time thing. And yet recently I found a little more solace or a little more security. And well, yeah, but that's one person, dude. That's one person you're helping. And that is sort of a more simplistic or a more patient or a less stressful view of things. And I know we're going to talk how that applies to material things, but how has it helped you to just think more simply, this one person at approach time? And how did you allow yourself to do that? Or did you struggle with, well, no, I need to do, something that 1,000 people are doing or 10,000 people are doing it?
So it's hard. I think when you think about one person, think about, okay, so actually coronavirus is a really great example of this. Think about one person gets it and we have all this contact tracing, right? And who did you come in contact with? And how easily it can spread from like one person, how something can spread from one person to the next, right? If you can help one person, that spreads. And I think that that's a really important thing to remember, because I'm not just helping a mom, let's say. I'm helping a mom improve her relationship with her husband, or I'm helping a dad improve his relationship with a wife, right? Uh, with his husband, improve his relationship with a wife. And then that extends onto their children. Like now the children are going to have a much better life because mom and dad have a better life. And that is just a ripple, and it goes on like infinity. Like if these kids can feel more organized and understand how to organize themselves, it sets itself up to be infinitive. And I think that that's a really important way to look at it. Like, okay, yeah, I'm helping you one at a time. And by the way, I do courses, so it's not always just one at a time, but like even in a course, I try to really get to know my students and understand, and I encourage them to reach out to me, because I feel like if I can connect with them on that way, it's going to make it more impactful for them, and then it really will spread. And so I think it's really important to remember that even if you are working one-on-one with somebody, it's more than just the one person who you're affecting. And
Yeah.
that's really powerful and strong.
I like that word infinitive. I'm going to start using that one in a sentence. I'm going to see if I can
It's
use
hard
that
to
before the end.
say.
That's real. I've never heard that before. I like that word. One of the things I've seen as I've coached kids in youth sports relates to this very much. Some of the kids that have so much pressure on themselves that it has to be perfect that they can't move. They can't try anything, and you see them. And I recently, one of the kids I coached on my daughter's volleyball team, this girl was pretty good, but she was so in her head. And in one of the games, she made like two good plays, and I said something to her, but it wasn't just that I said something. She knew that she had done something good, and all of a sudden, completely different person, and so much more confident, so much more fun. Because again, it's volleyball. It's a sport. It's a game. It's
Right.
supposed to be fun. And also, to your point, I'd sometimes tell kids and say, look, we're doing this basketball coaching or volleyball coaching where I coach the kids. I say, well, go on YouTube, watch videos and check this out. And as apparently I'm now an old person, and tell them, look, in my day, we didn't have videos. We couldn't watch and break down a move. We had to wait, and there was no VCR, and we had to watch a basketball game, watch once and try to, in our mind, make sure we focus to see exactly what that guy did on the crossover or whatever the move was, or the dribble or the dunk, and to see, okay, how do I repeat that? And you guys can go back and forth and this and that. But I've asked these kids to watch videos, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But nothing replaces that person-to-person connection. I even think of how I started my podcast. I had taken 3 courses from really good podcast teachers.
Right.
And then finally, a friend of mine Devi Adea had a program, but then she did 6 weeks of Zoom calls. And so me going on to the Zoom calls and just, okay, that's okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay. 47 years old. I'm a big boy. I can pay my bills, but it was just something of so many of these fears of not doing it right. And to your point, without that help, I mean, for 7 years, I had courses only, and there's nothing wrong with courses. I have courses too,
Right.
love courses, but I needed that one-to-one connection on some level, whether it's an energy transfer, whether it's a confidence thing, I'm not sure, but I do know that that's how I launched. And without that, I wouldn't have launched. And then you and I wouldn't be talking to Gay and
Right.
whoever else is being helped by this. So again, that ripple effect is
Yeah.
infinitive. Ding. Uh, and so,
but more than that, I think like for me personally, like I was trying to think like, okay, I live in Israel, but you know, we have Zoom. I could talk to anybody at any time. We have Facebook. We have all these different tools. There are so many ways to be one-on-one with people. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to waste your time, Rebecca, when I say book a consultation. And I want to shake them sometimes and be like, you're not wasting my time. Even if I can connect with you for 30 minutes, like I'm willing to give you my most precious resource, something I can never, ever get back once I've given it. I'm willing to give it to you for free just to see if we're a good fit, but also because even if we're not, maybe I can still give you something. And that's so important to me. And, you know, one of the things when I was actually designing my courses, I'm like, most people never finish the courses that they buy. And I really didn't want that because I don't want to waste anybody's time and I don't want to waste anybody's money. And I actually designed my course as a challenge where they get cash back if they complete the challenge each week. And what I found is that it is so motivating, even on like a basic level, and they have to check in with me and have that connection with me. And that makes it gives them a level of responsibility that they didn't have before. And to me, even though I can service fewer people by doing it that way, it's important because I bring people to the finish line.
that's awesome. I have thought about that so many times and I've not done it. And I'm gonna have to ask you maybe
Yeah,
some of
we'll
the
talk about
details
it.
on that because to your point, there's an assumption and I remember I told you we were going to go down rabbit holes in the course creators world that, okay, 1%, 2%, 5% of people complete a course. And I know I've put some of my courses on Udemy, one of the course platforms, and I
Yeah.
put them out there for free. And maybe there's 8,000 people have signed up for a course, which sounds like a brag, but if you know Udemy, you can have anywhere. There's people with 250,000. So 8,000 is like kind of like,
Okay.
okay, it's almost, to some people, it might almost be embarrassing. Like, oh, they have 8,000. It's horrible. But roughly about, in these cases, I chose to give away these courses because I just wanted to reach and impact and the whole concept of democratizing education, helping reach people that maybe couldn't afford it. 9% of the people roughly have done anything with the course. And then about 1% I'll get some sort of feedback on, or maybe a little less than 1%, and maybe about 2 or 3% complete the course. So there's plenty of numbers there, and that's not a
Right.
knock. Hey, people buy exercise bikes all the time; they don't use them. So
Right.
it's not to say that it's our responsibility if somebody doesn't complete the course that we did a horrible job. But something that I had done and I kind of had to do with my small business owner clients was to be able to say, yes, we're going to have these regular, some people now call them office hours or whatever it is, where we're going to
Right.
check in. Or sometimes you might have a calendar to say, okay, we're on a 5-day challenge or a 30-day challenge. And this is what we're doing on these days. I actually prefer the second as opposed to the office hours.
Right.
With office hours, I can delay forever with office hours as a student. But if you give
Right.
me a schedule, I'll jump on schedule. But anyway, in having that ability that people could come in, I would find that the second time around or third time around, people would jump in that didn't jump in the first time. And they had invested their money. And as a creator, and I think most people don't see this, if you really are a course creator and you really want people to use your stuff, it bothers me that 91% of my people on that Udemy course haven't done it. But then I try to say, okay, well, what can I control? And of course, a certain percent, it's a free course, so a certain percent
Right.
wouldn't have bought it had I not done it. But it's interesting as we're trying to reach people without some sort of human connection, some sort of touch, there's still something missing. And I still feel that and I see that with our kids studying from home, we still need that. And
Right.
so if you can free up the time to do that, and you, like you say, giving your time, talk to this for a second. When you're trying, because I know what this is like, but I'd love to hear, because you might help me figure out some of this. When you're trying to convince somebody, no, seriously, it really is a free session. It really is. Like, I understand the numbers. Like, I understand I've got to do 10 free sessions, for example, and I'll end up with 3 clients, and I'm okay with the 7 or whatever the numbers are. How do you help people get that? Or how tough is it sometimes to help people get that? Yes, I really do believe in giving, and I'm not going to high pressure you. And it's, and more than that, it's okay, because sometimes the nicest people won't take the free sessions and the cheap boogers will. And you're like, no, I want to get the nice people on. How do you maybe address that?
I think it's all about the energy. I think when I can focus myself, and I've noticed this even after when I send a recap email after my consultation, when I'm like not desperate, but when I come and I'm like, yes, I want you as a client. I know I can help you. And where I can in my mind say to myself, like, okay, here are the 3 things that I can do for this client. And when I can transmit that into like the email that I'm writing them as the recap of what we spoke to, then I can book them. Sometimes it's not a good fit when we're on the call and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to be able to help this person. And I try to send that energy also. I mean, as awful as that sounds, but like, sometimes I don't need to. Sometimes they can see that it's not a good fit also. But I think just in general, when I'm relating to a person, I'm like, I can help you. And it's not coming from a place of ego. It's not coming from a place of like, I'm so great. It's not coming from a place of, I need your money. It's just like, I know we're a good match and I can help you. And I think that when you can sort of calm the noise in your head and bring that forward, it reflects towards other people. It's like what Simon Sinek always says about like finding your why. Like if you know what your why is in relationship to that person, you're gonna be able to work with them because they're gonna see that you have the answer because it's just as if it radiates from you. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't even know another way to say it really. It's just like I'm putting out this energy to you. You are receiving it. Maybe it's the right frequency for you. Maybe it's not. I don't mean to get all like woo woo, but like I do think that there is a connection in that way. Like sometimes you meet a person, even not in business, right? And you meet them and you're like, ugh, because they're just like slimy and gross, right? That's what they put out into the world. And sometimes you meet a person and you're like, I need to be with that person. And I just think that, you put out whatever you put out, people feel and understand and perceive. And that is a really, really, it's hard. It's hard to do that, but it's a really great way of like interacting with people because it says, this is who I am. And
I think that's
I think
so
people can read through the BS.
absolutely. And something you said, it just connected for me too. And I think about it, the people that I really know I can help, then I do start kind of geeking out and I won't shut up like, oh, I can help you do this. And I think it does come across as genuine because it's certainly not smooth. When you kind of geek out, it's like, it's not like, something that would be off of something like, hey, I can help you do that. It's kind of
Yeah,
dorky. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like it's not desperate. You're like, oh no, you got to do this. This is so cool.
right.
And also I just think about not even that, but also when I really do know, for example, the clients I've worked with, that I know the ripple effects it's going to make for their family, their kids, their
Yeah.
spouse, and I can just see it. I do think there's something that comes across, and when I'm centered, and I need to remind myself to do this, I do that thing. I say a prayer to, hey, if it's supposed to be, please help it be. And if it's
Right.
not, but I also try to say, please, if it is, help me be the person I need to be and help me realize if it's not. So kind of like somewhere between a serenity prayer and a letting things go to say, look, if this is supposed to be, I'm willing to serve,
Right.
but if
But
it's not, that's cool too.
I think also we never know who we can really connect with. Like if you get on a call with somebody, it's not a waste of time because even if they're not the right client for you and they might not be, they might have this amazing experience with you because maybe it's just not the right time for them, or maybe you really aren't the right coach, or you just don't have the tool that they need. But they could know 10 other people who you are the right coach for. And if they have an amazing experience with you, they'll pass you around, right? Like they'll be like, I met this amazing person. She wasn't exactly right for me because of XYZ, but maybe she's right for you. Check her out. And I think that we can never underestimate the value of that connection with people. And we always look at it like, oh, time. So if you don't have time to do 30 minutes, that's fine. Do 15-minute discovery call. But I feel like the discovery call, no matter what, is just so important because it sets the tone for, and you can learn a lot about it's not just them interviewing you, it's also you interviewing them. And it sets the tone for your whole relationship. And it's a nice way to start out.
Well, absolutely. And I think some of this relates to, and if you come back full circle, there's this connection of, I mean, you're coming from a place of time abundance, and yet you're being wise with your time. And one of the things that somehow I think my parents helped me get this, I'm not sure how I got it, but it became very clear to me that when you waste money on something, that you waste the time that you took to earn that money. So if you just, you buy stuff that you don't need, you spend $500. Well, how long did it take you to make the $500?
Right.
And it's not a judgment on the thing, the item, because one man's treasure is another man's trash kind of a thing. So it might be huge to one person. But this concept,
you can judge
for
the
example,
stuff. I'm okay with that.
What'd you say?
I'm okay with you judging the stuff. I judge stuff. Stuff should be judged.
Well, for example, I don't like to throw around money at happy hour. Now, It's not because I have huge judgments about alcohol. I certainly think alcohol can have its place where it can be used well, and it can really be destructive. But I don't think it's inherent in the thing itself. I just don't, I'm cheap, not cheap. I know what it took me to earn that. I don't want to drop $25 on a foo-foo drink when, when I could do something else with that. And so I think when we're more clear about what we want to do with our time, I've had the experience of being stressed by when I do my strategy session calls where I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got so many things to do. And of course it doesn't come across very powerful. It certainly doesn't convert well if you really want to go to those metrics. And then I've had times where I'll invest 2 hours and the person say, wow, we're going over. I'm like, no, it's okay. And I'm sure you've had this where you're like, no, you're the right client. I've given myself 2 hours. On your schedule. It says 30 minutes, but I've got at least another 30 minutes that are available that I've not double booked, to where in case you're the right person. And again, it definitely, there's some sort of a connection, a flow, a vibe, whatever you want to call it, that makes it easy for people to see. But definitely because in that moment, I'm clear about what I'm there to do and there to serve, then it works. When I'm not clear, oh gosh. And if my cash, and I've had this happen a couple times where cash flow is tighter, and I am got a little bit of commission breath. And again, I don't know. I'd almost want to be a fly on the wall to see what that other person experienced. But you say, okay, it didn't, I hear myself, talking about features and benefits. I sound like a web page and I'm trying to, it does this, it does that. It can make coffee for you. It's like, no, that's not good. And yet so much of it comes back to when I know, and this is something, again, was taught to me, was, look, if you look at your history, and I can speak for me, I can't speak for everybody else. My life has gone pretty smoothly. It's gone smoother than many people on the planet. So this might not work for everybody.
Right.
But if things have gone pretty well so far, and you've been willing to trust and you've tried to serve people, why would things all of a sudden just completely go south? And we have these, especially as entrepreneurs, oh my gosh, I'm going to be this responsible employee in a corporation. I'm going to make tons of money and I'm going to go to my own, and all of a sudden I'm just going to tank. Like, why would that happen? Your whole track record, your elementary school record, for God's sake, your teacher said you were good in elementary school. Why would it all change? How does it help you when you declutter, not just the physical things, but what's that connection between the physical and then perhaps the mind, and then allowing you to work less? How do you start tying those things together? Because you and I are starting to get woo-woo and we're geeking out. And then for those person that needs a little more grounding, how does it turn into the mechanics where you say, yes, having less stuff or having less obligations, or how does that turn into becoming more efficient?
Okay, so I was actually watching this TikTok video. I'm not embarrassed to say that I love TikTok. Okay. And I don't fall down the TikTok rabbit hole, but I saw this TikTok about being productive. And this guy is sitting there with like 7 or 8 tips on like all these things you should do to be productive, like turn on a timer and get up 15 minutes earlier than you already are getting up and do this kind of exercise. And all of a sudden I had this shift in my mind and I said to myself, what if the goal isn't to be as productive as possible? What if the goal is that we just live our best lives? And maybe that means that we take some things off of our to-do list and that makes us more productive. And to me, the way that we can do that is by having less stuff. Because when you have less stuff to take care of, there's less to take care of. Like it sounds so simple, right? But in Judaism, we have this proverb that says, more possessions, more worry. And it's true. The more you have, the more you think about your stuff and the more you worry about it. Oh, did I leave the oven on? Oh, are the windows open and it's raining? Is my whole floor and my whole sofa going to get ruined? Right? Like, what's going to happen to my books? Are they going to get moldy because, we had a flood? Like all these things, the more you have, the more circumstances in your life start to have, again, here's the ripple effect, right? Like the more you have, just it extends your worry, and it, in a way, it lowers your productivity because all you can do is think about all the things on your list that you have to take care of. But what if you just had less to take care of? Would you reach your goals? Would you hit your targets? Like, would it be easier for you to have more productivity in your work and increased and improved family time and personal time if you just spent less time thinking about what makes you productive? And like, is it essential that you wake up half an hour earlier than you're already waking up? Isn't there some valuable component to sleep also? Like, I know men, physiologically need a little less sleep than women do, but like, we all need to sleep. Like 4 hours a night is not enough for most people. Like everybody's recommending 6 hours minimum and 8 hours as like the appropriate amount. Like, so if you're telling me I should wake up a half an hour early so I'll be more productive, why? My body is going to work better for me if I actually get the sleep that I need. And if I have fewer things to take care of, I'll also get a better night's sleep because I'll be worrying less about stuff. And I was watching this guy and I'm thinking to myself, like, sad. I just felt sad all of a sudden. And a few weeks ago on my podcast, I did a podcast episode about why I don't make my bed. And because that's like the thing everybody says you have to do to be successful, right? Get up in the morning and make your bed. And I don't like to make my bed. I think it's a waste of 5 minutes of my time. I don't like getting into a cold bed. I certainly enjoy, on the days that I change the sheets, clean sheet day. Clean sheet day is my favorite day of the week. But like, I just like, why? There's nothing else in my room. Yes, it's true. It looks a little untidy because the bed is not made, but there's no other clutter in my room. So it doesn't really look that bad. And I'm okay with things not being perfect. And I feel okay. And sometimes in the middle of the day, especially now with Corona, I just want to get in my bed and then take a 10-minute nap. My bed is there and it's ready for me because it's not made and I don't feel bad about getting into it. And I think that that's a huge just thing about productivity that we miss. It's like, the point of us being here, it's not like it's pinball where we're trying to win at the game of life. Do you know what I mean? We're here to make the world a better place than when we first arrived. Like our ultimate goal should be to leave the world better than we got it. And I don't think that making my bed helps me do that. And I don't know. Instead of trying to see how much we can squeeze in, let's try to figure out how much better we can just make the world. And I think that that's something that we all miss sometimes. And it's just makes me a little bit sad.
I think that saying the you're referencing comes from P. Diddy and Biggie Smalls, Mo Money, Mo Problems. So that's where that probably comes from.
Well, they
But
got
it's
it.
funny.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's in rap music. More money, more
Right.
problems. Yeah, same
Right.
concept. And I think of, so I'm a person that keeps cars for a long time
Okay.
because to me, one of the possibly, okay, this is really weird. One of the sexiest things to me in the world is a car without payments. That's like, that's hot. And so we have, and then right up there with it is a car that I can go to the beach with, get it sandy, and not have to clean.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't value the vehicle. So we have a, what? I think it's, well, my son's 14, so 14-year-old Honda CRV now, and I get to take it to the beach. And I don't throw sand in the car. I still dust off before I get in. My mom would be upset if I didn't. I don't live like a barnyard animal, but I don't have to worry about every detail. And yes, every month, so 14 years now. So, the average person's car turnover, I think it's like 3 to 5 years. So 9 extra years, I've had no car payment times roughly 500 a month. So that's like 54,000 bucks.
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't, I want to get from point A to point B. It doesn't bother me. And to your point, I'm looking more of what am I kind of getting out of things. If you were to tell people, look, the secret to having success is have as many children as you can, or as many spouses as you can. More spouses, that'll be better. And when you're younger, like, oh yeah, you get older, you have a few kids, you're like, no, 2 or 3 or whatever. Like, we're good. I have a friend that's got 7 of them, and her sister has 6, and they're brilliant. They're awesome people. Even they're like, okay, no, 6 is good. Okay, everybody's kind of got their number. If I were to tell you have 5 businesses, you'd say, no, there's a number where it's too much. Well,
Right.
why wouldn't that be the case with things? At some point, like you say, I see people when they're out washing their cars, and I've probably washed a car gets about a good once a year wash from me, one of our cars. And then every
Wow.
once in a while, we'll take it in somewhere to get detailed because it smells nice or whatever. But
Here you
to
have to
me,
wash your
all
car
this
like once a
energy.
month. It's a thing.
Sorry?
You have to do it. Here in Israel, you've got to wash your car, or else it just
Oh yeah,
gets
well,
so
I'm
dusty
in
you
Florida.
can't
We don't
even
have
see.
a lot of dirt and whatnot. So yes, it
Right.
depends where you are. So yeah, so
It
where
depends
we were
where you
at,
are.
it won't get
But
that
that's
bad.
the
And it
thing. It's
rains.
something you have to care for.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
one more thing to do.
It's another responsibility. And
Right.
so from having, in our case, with my wife being from Peru, and we would live back and forth from there, from Florida. So we would go down there, we'd rent out our place in season up here during the higher price season, and we'd leave it furnished. But we'd still have to put some of our stuff in storage. And we'd go down to Peru for 3 months, and that's south of the equator. So that'd be summer down there. And awesome. It
Right.
really worked out great for quite a while till the kids got into school. But every time we'd go to the storage unit, it was like, okay, are we really going to store this? And some of the stuff was stuff we knew
Yeah.
we'd use again. So we'd put it in a storage unit. And I was like, I'll never use a storage unit. Well, in that case, it paid for the trip down there. So like, okay, I'll do this. But every time there'd be this decision point of, okay, nope, this doesn't go to the storage point. This goes right to Goodwill because I'm not bringing this back and forth again. And after we made a few trips, sounds kind of similar to what you did with taking your stuff across. I'd love you to tell the story about you bringing your stuff across.
Okay.
After a few times, we were like, okay, we've got this down. And we only have a couple things we're bringing. And now my business is literally the laptop, a couple camera items or whatever, and a Dropbox account as far as the assets. And that's all I need. I've got a light and I've got a couple other things, and I'm not homeless. I live in a nice place,
Right.
but all this extra stuff, to me, again, just takes up more time, and I want to enjoy it. So share a little, if you don't mind, the story you told me about, or whatever you want to share about it, of
Sure.
bringing your stuff across and what that was like, and the process of letting some of that go.
Okay, so we moved from New York to Israel in 2014. So it was like shortly after I had started decluttering and started my business, and the thing about it is that everything is very easy to get in America. And even though I'd been to Israel before, I wasn't sure like, well, what's going to be like readily available. And I packed from this place of panic and insecurity, thinking that like I'm going to need every single thing that I pack, because also I was scared. I'm like, I don't not necessarily know where to go. Like, even if you move from Florida to California, let's say, you don't still know exactly where the Target is. I mean, now you have Amazon, so you can just get whatever you need, right? But like, you don't always know where everything is going to be, and you're worried like maybe you won't have access to something, or you'll be too tired or whatever. So And I help a lot of people make this international move. And the overwhelming, underlying thing is, well, I'll have it right away and it'll just be there. And it's always the just in case. And as they were loading up, I was like, wow, this is just so much stuff. They were loading up our 20-foot container. I said to the shipper, like later on that day, I was like, listen, if you want to knock over my container into the sea, I'm totally down with that, because I'll just take the insurance money and buy what I need like new, right? And he's like, you know what? No one has ever said that to me before. And I realized that there's only about 5 items that I put in the lift that were totally irreplaceable, like our wedding pictures and our wedding video and some artwork, that paintings that I had painted, and like maybe 1 or 2 like family keepsakes, but pretty much everything in the lift I could replace. And I said to my husband, I'm like, it is cheaper if you already have it, and it's better for the environment if you already have it to ship it. There's no doubt about that, because it's already something that exists, and that's a whole nother calculation and measurement. But I was just like, if we had to start all over again, I wouldn't feel sad. And that was like a huge shift for me, because I realized I don't have this attachment to stuff that most people have, because I know that we don't, whatever we come in with, we can't take with us. And so we should live with this carefully curated collection of stuff that we think about. Like, if something's going to cross the threshold into our home, it has to have a place to live. You have to know how you're going to care for it. And you have to understand that something else probably needs to leave to make space for it. Because even for people who have a large home, filling every single square foot of your home with stuff doesn't make your life better. Like, if something doesn't actually have a place to live in your home, it doesn't belong in your home. If you can't allot it a piece of real estate, you shouldn't be buying it or bringing it into your home, accepting it, even if it's free, and this was just like eye-opening to me, because what I realized is we feel more secure with our stuff. We give it a lot of space, and we end up working for it. It doesn't work for us. And I just felt like I don't want to have anything that, that I have to work so hard for. Let me give you an example. Here's something that we started doing in our house now that everybody's home. We put a timer on our router so that the internet shuts off at 11 o'clock. And the value of doing this, in my opinion, is, first of all, a lot of people think that having the router on all the time is not healthy and it can interrupt your sleep. But besides for that, is I wanted to show my kids, like, okay, it's devices down at 11 p.m. I don't care. Like, you've been on your device all day. We need some time where we're off, right? And this way, I have automated the process by putting a timer on it. And it's one less thing I need to think about, but it's some way that I can keep myself in check and not have to like worry about things. And I posted this in a parenting group that I'm in yesterday, this tip. And this one woman says to me, well, I like showing my kids, that if I have a rule, I'm going to be responsible for the rule. So I turn it off manually at, whatever time. And I'm like, okay, but why do you want to make it hard for yourself? Like, you can automate this process and you don't have to think about it. And you could take one thing off your plate. And by the way, decision fatigue is a real thing. And at the end of the day, you're tired. And when my kids say like, no, please don't shut it off. Please don't shut it off. This takes off like one layer of pressure, one less thing I have to remember, one less thing I have to think about, one less thing I have to do. And it's like definitive. There's no argument. You can't argue with the timer. It just shut off, right? Like, my kids can't say to me, Mommy, no, please, 5 more minutes, right? Like, automating the things in your life so that they work for you, that's the important thing here. you have a precedent. Good for you. You want to teach your kids about rules? Great. This is also a time management hack that you can teach your kids, and you can show them how to not suffer from decision fatigue, not worry about remembering things, not having to fall down the time management rabbit hole. This is a particularly valuable tip if you suffer from ADHD or other poor time management skills. Like, it's just amazing shutting off so you can have this time. Like at 11 o'clock, my husband and I talk to each other. Oh, what a great thing. I sit down and I read a book. That's amazing.
Systemization. I tell my wife, I said, that's something. So I have a software company that helps small business owners reward their team members. And one of the most unhealthy things you can do as a business owner is have your team members perform, employees, whatever word you want to use, staff, employees, team members, have them perform. And then you be like Santa Claus or like grandpa, where you're giving out bonuses because you're this benevolent, monarch that decides you're getting, today I'm giving out bonuses for this because, and it's almost like this focus on you, because then next time when you don't, they're like, well, I don't understand. There's no consistency there. What's the system? And yet, if you tell them, look, the system is this, if you do this, you get rewarded this way. Why? Because this system aligns with reality and the finances of the company. Whether that's even if you say, I'll offer you a 4-day work week opportunity, but here's the production you have to do, or whatever it is, whether it's financial or, and once the system's in place, you can say, look, now I'm on your team and I'm going to help you as best as I can to earn that. But I'm not going to change the system because the system is true. It's natural. I'm not going to tell you that you can plant seeds in August and have a harvest in November. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
But I'm going to help educate you about the system. And to your point, my gosh, if you have kids, sometimes they will, what about 5 more minutes to this, to that? There are certain things in life that are hard, fast, and that's the way they are. And so, yes, absolutely. The decision fatigue, the having something that's simple. And to your point, why would I do something that can't be done automatically for me? We do the same thing. I'm thinking of automated now that you've said that, because I literally unplug our thing. And for the same reasons, we don't want the Wi-Fi signals running around and whatnot. And maybe it's real, maybe it's not. We have a friend that had contracted something from having the cell phone near to his ear for long periods of time. So we're pretty sure that there's something to it. Even though it's not all the time, but definitely just having a system that allows you to spend less time working. And again, part of it, I think, and you've said it different ways, is it's more of a focus on quality and less of a focus on quantity. And because even when you said, curated, and you were talking about work, I was like, well, that's the same thing about friends. It takes a while to curate your friends and decide who do you really want to give your time to. Not just the people that want some time and attention. And certainly you probably get this too. I mean, I get a lot of friend requests because I'm now business. Then people that, they eventually want to sell you something and they're your friend. It's like, okay, well, they're friends with these 20 people that I know and maybe somewhere, but then sometimes within a day, like my page, it's like, boom, out. And it's not because I'm better than them. I don't, I try to escape if I ever do in Facebook, just with friendly stuff. And my friends that have too strong of political opinions, and maybe they'd say that of me, I don't know. But I'm like, I'm good. I just want to see nice, happy stuff. And if I watch my TV, I want to see happy stuff. And if I want news, I'll go to the news station. But definitely being able to use systems, because then if the system's wrong, you can always fix the system. But you say, let's try the system for 7 days or 30 days. And let's see what actually happens. And we can be on systems, but we can be gentle with each other. But when you ask me for exceptions, then I've got to, again, oh God, should I, is this the right time? Am I being a good dad to let them stay up? I want to be permissive. I want to allow them to live life. But then again, it's how many hours of Minecraft or Fortnite can you play? And instead of this whole rigmarole every single night, and it gets exhausting, especially with teenagers, and just say, no, that's when it goes off. It's done.
It's not negotiable, right? You just set it and forget it, and it's like, this is the way that it is. And there's no one to argue with. Like, I think and a bunch of people said, well, you can set your router, certain routers you can set electronically and manage it from your phone. Okay, whatever works for you, do it that way. I don't care how you do it. The point is like, there's this automation that you can do to make your life better. And in a way, these automations actually make you more productive, because if it forces you to put laptop down or phone down or whatever at 11 o'clock, that forces you to rest your mind, forces you to go to sleep, forces you to get a good night's sleep. Well, maybe you'll get a good night's sleep or not, that's not on the system, right? But like, it forces you to take these next steps that are healthy for you and allow your body to recharge, be your best self in the morning. And, you don't have to turn the device on. I think ours goes on at like 8 o'clock when my husband starts working. And it's hard because we all have different schedules and we're all working from home, and like we have to coordinate in that way. Like for me, I work later in the evening because I'm dealing with the US, but he's dealing locally here in Israel, and he deals with Europe. And so he has to start a little earlier in the morning. Okay, so the span that we have the router on is longer than I would prefer to have it on. However, that works for us, and we've automated it in this way where it's like we can just take one more thing off our plate. And what people don't realize is that, like, it doesn't show our kids any more responsibility or any less responsibility by automating something. What it does is it shows us it shows them how to look for the solution all the time. And when you raise kids who focus on the solutions and not the problems, you get higher functioning kids, because they're happier, because the problems arise and they're not like, I got a problem, they're not face palming themselves all the time. It's like, okay, I got a problem. There's A answer, there's B answer, maybe there's even C. Which one am I going to do? And life is so much better when you're focusing on the solution rather than the problem, because then you're not bogged down in this negativity. If you're always looking how to push yourself forward, how to be your best self, how to live your best life, then you will reach the goal of leaving the world a better place than when you got here, because you're not focused on the negative, you're focused on the positive. And that's a huge plus and I think it circles back nicely to what we were talking about at the beginning. If you're focused on the positive aspect of things, it's much easier to say to a client, I can help you because I'm focused on the solution. I'm a positive person, and I'm going to help you problem solve and troubleshoot for you to get you what you need out of life, to help you get what you need out of your business. And that's why people hire coaches, right? Like, to help get them to the next level. And if you can show your clients, your kids, your family, your friends how to problem solve, everybody's life's going to be so much better.
Absolutely. All right. I've got 5 things that you and I talked about in the pre-interview, which I want you to, and I'm going to, if it's cool, I'm going to let you go. And then I might say, okay, I got another one for you.
Great.
For you. One of the things you said that I really loved was how letting go of tasks that we are not great at frees us up to let our superpowers out and invest our time and energy there. Share a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Okay. So let's say you have 3 tasks on your to-do list. And this goes back to what I was talking about with productivity. Like, the productivity that you have within yourself, like, you don't have to be the one doing everything. Like, outsourcing and automating things is okay, as I just said. When you break down the time cost benefit analysis of doing a task, you have to see what is actually worth it for you to do and what is not worth it for you to do. So for example, if it costs you $50 an hour to hire a cleaner to clean your house and you make $150 an hour, then it's not worth it for you to clean your house unless you get some sort of physical easement from doing that, like as if it's like exercise or something for you. But in terms of exercise, no one else can exercise for you. So that's not something you can outsource. So when we're talking about the time benefit analysis, if it's clean my house or exercise, unless you're going to, jazzercise your way through the house, you're not going to get the like cardio that, or whatever exercise regimen that you do, you're not going to get that from the situation. So you have to really balance and weigh and see what what the cost benefit analysis of you doing each task. Similarly, let's say, if you're a coach and you run a website, is it worth it? Is the cost worth it for you to set up the website or hire someone to set up the website? Because same cost benefit analysis, even if it's equal, even if you make $150 an hour and they make $150 an hour, it's going to take you 3 hours to do something that's going to take them 30 minutes probably. And you're going to be frustrated and irritated. And what that's going to do is it's going to set you back for the rest of your day, and all of your other tasks that only you can do are going to suffer. So it's really important to figure out what you have to do yourself and what someone else can do. And as long as they can do it as equally as good as you or better, it's worth outsourcing.
Awesome. And that's something I get stuck with that sometimes because I like doing different things. So sometimes the idea of doing something that I know I could do, but I'm not yet expert at. Sometimes it's a curiosity thing. And sometimes I'll allow myself that where I'll tell people, look, sometimes I don't need to be and this is where having the less stuff and having the less bills accordingly comes to, okay, actually, I do want to go down this rabbit hole because I've always been curious on how to web program or this or that.
Right.
Which is very different than, okay, I'm fearful that I can't make enough sales to do this. Now, again, I'm still all about paying for cash as much as you can and not using credit. So there might be times we say, yeah, wait, I'm doing my website because right now it's a slow part of my season. But that's very different than, Wade, I'm just not doing the things I need to do. And I would go back full circle to say, okay, well, what are you wasting your time on in other areas that's getting you tired? You're not getting your sleep. You're all those other things. Because if this really is, again, we said superpower, if this is what you love doing and you're great at, then not only are you better at it and quicker at it than other people are, but chances are your income is going to continue growing. Your impact is going to continue growing. And to a certain degree, if you really want to go this deep, you're kind of shorting the world because you're not getting better. I mean, again, because some people say, well, because don't make it all about money. Well, okay, make it about impact. If you're really that good, I mean, there are certain people, there's musicians. If Eddie Van Halen didn't play guitar as much as he did, gosh, genuinely, my childhood would have been less enjoyable than it was if he said, well, yeah, you know what, that's a lot of work, or I'm not sure if I can afford that. There's certain people, that's just one example. There's so many people that they've done their thing. And so I think if you don't do it, it's not that if you do it, you'll necessarily reach your genius, but you kind of do. And you said it in a slightly different way. You're guaranteed though, if you don't get to focus on your genius, you won't get those 10,000 hours or however you want to word it. You won't get that time to where you really do excel at something. And certainly for me, I don't know why, I get relaxation from washing dishes. So sometimes if I've been at a computer and you take that proverbial 15 minutes or 10 minutes to get up for a computer, that works for me. So doing dishes, I don't mind. But if you tell me to clean the house, no, I'm not interested. I'd rather outsource that. So, all right, different topic.
Okay.
When you have less stuff, you need to come up with more creative solutions. You kind of referenced this.
Yeah.
I've certainly experienced this. How does that work not only in personal life, but in business? And how have you found, I found that can be helpful to perhaps keeping expenses down and making it more likely that you can do your best work?
Well, okay. So this is it goes back to problem solving. When you have less stuff, you have to work with what you have. So you have to get more creative about the solutions that you're using. So I'll take a kitchen, example. If you have an amazing kitchen knife, okay, it does the job of all those other gadgets. It does the job of the peeler and the avocado slicer and the garlic press and the banana slicer and the apple corer and all those other gadgets that just take up a lot of space, but are unitaskers. They only do one thing. And unitaskers are great for some people, like for people who have disabilities, let's say, and using a knife is hard for them. But if you don't have that problem and you don't need that solution in that way, thinking about the benefit of the good knife is better than all these smaller things that take up more time, more space. So the same thing is true in your business. If you have one tool that works better than lots of other tools altogether, or or reasonably as good. For example, this is an example that I see a lot. I use Kajabi for my courses, and
Hold on, I got that is literally, this is like an ad. That is the exact word that popped in my head. Kajabi is what popped into my head right
right.
then. So I just
But
had to
it's
say
not just
that.
Kajabi. There are other services that do this too. Like I use Kajabi for my courses. And the thing is that while it's not necessarily the most perfect, the most elegant solution, it doesn't always do exactly what I want it to do. It takes the place of so many other solutions that it makes my life simplified and easier because I'm going to one address to get what I need. So all the emails, all the courses, all the landing pages, all of the, I'm not getting paid by Kajabi to say this, just by the way, but all of those things, I should be, but I'm not. All of those things are in one place. And what that does for me is I can say to my assistant, let's say, hey, go make a landing page. And it's not like, okay, well, where do you want me to do that? It's obvious. It's always going to be in Kajabi. It's not, am I making it through the email template service, or am I making it through the shopping cart service, or am I making it through the funnel service, or where is it coming from, right? It's always in one place. And the beauty of having like these all-in-one tools, and it's not always like a perfect solution, but for the most part, it's the easiest solution. And it takes away a lot of the like, oh, I got charged here for this and I got charged there for this. And it makes the accounting more simpler, and it makes just service in general more simpler. You only have one address for customer support. If there's a breakdown in the system, it's easier to find. And I think people discount that a lot. But in reality, those are the productivity things that make us work hard, that make us work smarter, not harder. And I think like when we're talking about productivity in general, we want to work smart, because I don't know about you, but lately I've been like playing cards with my kids at night, or I sit down and I play. Last week, my husband and I played, I know it sounds like we're kids. We played Guess Who, we played Othello, and we played Connect Four, right? Like, like we just sat down and played a game on a weeknight. And I sat down and I played Old Maid with my daughter, even if we're just sitting there watching TikTok or watching YouTube or whatever. Like, that's time that I'm spending with my family, and I'm cuddling with my child, and she feels that I love her, and my husband feels that I love him. And it's a connection. And like, if it means like that it's something I can outsource to my assistant, it's a tool that's making me work easier, like that's the game, that's the goal. Like those are the things that make our life better. Why do you want to suffer?
Absolutely, and that's just a specific thing on Kajabi. So much, and I'll have to post this in the forum because they've got such a great community. I think they'll appreciate this little clip. But I just think of before I would do it in so many of, the WordPress. Well, this is free, and this, yeah, but by the time you put in the plugins and the
Yeah.
website and then this tool and then that tool, and some of them, admittedly, like you said, there's a nuance. This might do this one little thing. And if you've got a good company, in the case of Kajabi, we're a great company where they're like, okay, well, we're going to get to that over time if it's great and if it makes sense. But they also do a good job of saying, hey, by the way, there's other people that are killing it that aren't using all these doodads that you're looking at.
Right.
Like I just saw Brendan Burchard did this thing, and it was done in a Facebook group with Zoom. And I was like, I almost was ashamed of all the different add-ons I'm thinking of buying. I'm like, okay, so wait, it's not because he doesn't need that. So do I really need that? Or can I just focus on the work and
Right.
focus on doing that? So, okay, cool.
So
third one.
can I just say one thing about that?
You may. You let the lady from New York and Israel. She gets, give her 5 more seconds here. Yes, you get more time.
One thing that I just want to say about that is like that is a product of marketing, and it's a layover in all aspects of our life, in business, in our home. We think we need these things, like our life is gonna be so great if I just have X. Your life is already great. You just have to find the greatness in your life. This thing might make it a little bit better, but you probably already have something in your life that's doing the same thing or something similar. And like reconsider, where's this it's this whole thing. Where's this item going to go in my life? Whether it's a physical item or a digital item, it doesn't matter. Where is this going to fit into my life? And I think we really get sucked into the sexy marketing, and it's hard not to.
Yeah, well, if it doesn't have a place, yeah, you pivoted right in the next one. Everything in your house has a place, or it has to have a place. You already started going into it. See, you thought we were on the same wavelength there. So what does that look like? You told me about it makes it easier for your kids to clean up when they know where stuff goes. And I'm specifically going to focus on kids. It works for us adults too, but kids, because that's almost this constant thing of, just put it where it goes. Well, I don't know where it goes. How do you do that?
It's really good for husbands. My husband never asked me, where does this go? He just knows now. Okay, so here's the thing. If you say to your kids, clean up your room, okay, what does that mean? What does clean mean? Like, you haven't shown your kids what clean means. They don't know what it means either. So when you teach your kids, and when you do this for yourself, when you show them, this is where this lives, this is where that lives, this is where this other thing lives, what you're doing for them is you're giving them a system, and you're showing them exactly what to do. So for smaller kids, you have to break it down into smaller tasks. For older kids, you don't have to do that quite as much. And now I'm at the point of where I can say to my kids, like, clean your room, and they know what that means. But but it took, I was like so excited. I was talking so much, but they know what that means now, but it took me time to get them to that point where I had to, teach them what away means. So now they know when they come home, we're not such sticklers about shoes by the front door. We'd rather have shoes by the front door than tracking dirt all over the house. But they know, like, they can't leave them right in front of the door. They know that their backpacks go on the hook. They know that their jackets go on the hook. They know that their lunch boxes, now they're not going to school, but they know that their lunch boxes need to come into the kitchen and go into the sink so we can wash them. Like, there are all these steps that now they know. So I can say, like, hey, take care of the things you need to take care of when you first walk in the door. And they know what those steps are now. And when you are specific, and this is true with children, this is true with a spouse, this is true with employees, this is true with bosses. When you are specific with people with what exactly you need and the steps that you can take to do this is even true for yourself and how to task manage and how to get tasks done. When you lay out exactly what has to happen in the order it has to happen in for people, for yourself, it makes it easier to complete the task. So if you say to yourself, put the books away. Well, what does away mean? I have to pick them up. I have to put them on the bookshelf. This book goes on that shelf. This book goes on that shelf. And there's an understanding about where things actually live in the house. Where does the silverware go? Where do the glasses go? Where does the paperwork go? When everybody understands where everything goes, that makes things easier. Similarly, when you're doing a task, when you understand exactly how to break down the task, when you understand that if you have to make a phone call, the first thing to do is get the phone number, then dial it, then press send. When you understand all those steps, it makes it so much easier to get it done. And it's a problem for people who are procrastinators. They don't understand all the steps, or they can't see all the steps, and they're like, oh, it seems so overwhelming. But when you actually break it down into these smaller steps, just like putting things away and giving things a home, when you break things down into smaller steps, it allows you to get the task done more easily because you understand how to get to the end. And that's huge.
That's huge, especially with the kids. If they don't see the end, right, or sometimes I have to chunk it, you've got to see, okay, let's just do this one part, then come back to me. Okay, 2 more lightning round. Difference between essentialism and minimalism. They're both things that have, they've been talked about a lot. Essentialism has become, I'm not sure if it was coined by the author or if that's been around before then, but what's the difference? What does that mean, the difference between those things for you?
I don't know the official definition of either one.
I don't know either, but it sounded good when I said that. I was really convincing. I just mean, I'd never heard essentialism before. I'm forgetting his name right now, the gentleman, because I've not read the book yet. I've been wanting to read it, but I've heard minimalism. And I know minimalism seems to imply people are like, as if they're doing without. And then you'd share with me something that you felt essentialism was something perhaps a little bit better than that.
Right. So, I mean, for me, I don't consider myself a minimalist. Like, if I would show you my house right now, you would be like, wow, you have stuff. Like, people, I think, are shocked that I have things in my house. We have things. We definitely have things. But what we have is this carefully curated collection of things. And everything that we have has a purpose. And I don't like to allow things in my house that don't have a purpose and that aren't essential for us. And when things become unessential, we let them go. Because to me, my feeling about it is that God gave us the blessing of having something, and that's amazing. If I'm not using it, I can pass the blessing on to somebody else. And that to
Awesome.
me is like hugely important.
Awesome. I hope your husband continues to be useful.
Me too.
And this ties right into this, the dopamine hit that we get from buying stuff. I've read different literature or just enough to be dangerous. What have you learned about that?
Okay, so this goes back to what I was talking about before and thinking that we need to buy things because we need them because the marketing is so good, right? Like, I love good marketing. I love beautiful packaging. My background's in design. I'm a total sucker for good packaging. And I like desperately think I need everything. And I got to pull myself back and be like, whoa, wait a minute. Do I already have something that I'm using like this in the same way? Like, for me, I mean, people are paying a lot of money to get you to buy, are paid to get you to buy things. Think about a product in the supermarket, let's say. Grocery producers pay a lot of money for shelf placement, to get placed at eye level, either eye level for adults or eye level for kids, whatever it may be. They're paying for that. And you got to remember that nothing that's happening in a consumer situation is happening by accident. Everything is very, very purposely done. And Facebook ads are that way, and maybe commercials on TV less, but Google ads certainly. They're, I don't want to sound like it's a conspiracy or anything, but definitely a lot of times you're talking about something and that Facebook ad comes up on your Facebook feed, right? Like, oh, I need something. And oh, there it is the next day, right? Like, and so I definitely think there is targeting going on and targeting happening. And sometimes it's really hard to resist. And I'm not saying I've never made a stupid purchase. I'm not saying that I've purchased, I always purchase virtuously. But what I am saying is that you can pull the reins back a little. You can hold off for 24 hours. You can put it in your cart and forget about it and see if you still want it. When in the olden days, when we used to go to the clothing store, I used to put things on hold. Like, you used to physically put it on hold and then go back to it if you wanted it, or if they had a lot of it, you could go back tomorrow. And I feel like one of the biggest things that you could do is, if it wasn't on sale, would you actually buy it? Like, would you pay full price for this item? Forget whether you could afford it or not, but would you actually be willing to pay full price for it? If you're waiting for a sale for whatever reason, fine. But like, if you're really willing to pay full price for this item, then okay, that could be the litmus test for you. But on top of that, it has to be, if I bring this into my home, where am I going to put it?
Yeah, and something you just said there, I think about when I'm intentional, I use Black Friday. When I'm not intentional, Black Friday uses me. Because I usually buy my laptops. I've done this for years. Whenever I buy a new laptop, it's every 3 to 5 years, depending on how well things go. But it's almost either, Black Friday or Cyber Monday. I already know what I'm looking for. I'm just literally, okay, this is the best time for me to get what I was going to get anyway. So it's a
Right.
very intentional purpose or purchase. That's very different than when I see something like you said. I like that criteria. Would I have bought it if it were, if it
Full
weren't
price.
on sale?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So wow, gosh,
No, we talked about so much.
We've gotten to so many things. I had a list of things. I didn't think we were going to get them all. So first of all, thank you for what you've shared.
Thank you for having me.
I've really enjoyed where we've gone with this and what we've gone out of this. So one of the things that I saw that I really liked, and I'm going to encourage people to take a look at, is your 5-day decluttering challenge. And I'll ask you to share a little bit about that and where they can do that. I just can tell people I've been doing this since years ago, wrote a book called Put Your Money Where Your Soul Is, and have been following Henry David Thoreau and all these different things. Whether you want to call it essentialism, minimalism, whatever it is, there's a way of approaching life that is simpler. And from hearing you talk, I can tell that's very much a part of what you're doing. So you have I've never even, boom, you've got my official stamp of approval, as if
Oh,
that
yay.
matters for Squat. But I really like, wow, you really, really know this and get this. But where can people find out more about what you do? And what is it that you do specifically? How do you help people and where can they connect with you? And we'll, of course, put the links in the show notes, the podcast notes, whatever.
Okay, so you can go to my website, balaganbegone.com, and you can click on the light box that will pop up and download the 5-day decluttering challenge, or join the mailing list and you'll get the 5-day decluttering challenge. If you want to follow me on Instagram at Balagan Be Gone, you can, during the nights of Hanukkah, which are the week of December, like 6th and 7th, that whole week, I'm going to be giving away 8 nights of my masterclass, Conquer Your Clutter. And if you don't win, you can join for the first week after that at a discounted price. The course starts in the new year on January 3rd. And the great thing about this class is if you get the higher level, it's a challenge. So actually, for every challenge that you succeed at, you actually get money back. And so I've tried to be as motivating to my students as possible, because I really, really want them to succeed. And what I've done is I've made this program where it's 10 weeks long and you get the course every week. And then every week we have a live Q&A, and there are extra bonuses. You can certainly buy extra sessions with me directly if you want extra one-on-one FaceTime with me. But what I have found is that this model is so successful with people because they're like, yes, I want my money back, right? Like, and I love that. And I want to give you your money back. So it's like super motivating to finish the course. And people really make a huge difference in their lives when they complete the course and live with less. And so, yeah, so you can find me there. And of course, anybody can feel free to reach out and email me. It is not a waste of my time. Rebecca@balaganbegone.com. That's REBEKAH. And I will, of course, give you all the information, Wade, and you can put it in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so
My
grateful
pleasure.
to have you come on. I hope you all enjoyed this and got a lot out of this. If you thought some of this was maybe a lot, listen to it again. Again, so much of what she's talked about, I've either done or tried or watched people do. You've given me definitely a couple other ideas, and my
Awesome.
improvements will be infinitive. So anyway, thanks again so much for coming out. And as always, look forward to helping you in the audience help more people make more money in less time, do what you do best, so you can better enjoy your family, your friends, and your life. Thanks for listening.